Hey there, English 120. I want to take a few minutes to explain your work from home assignment for this Friday. Um, what I'd like you to do is make sure you have your op-ed working notebook in. Just as a recap, this week together, we focused on refining our topics, creating our annotated bibliographies, and then thinking about um, why whatever topic we're discussing is going to be important for our audience to read. So we did a little practice of writing for the audience on Wednesday. What you're going to do now for this assignment is make a plan for your op-ed. So we're doing some brainstorming because next week we're going to spend drafting. So the more detailed you are now, the easier next week will be. So we're going to revisit the idea of the rhetorical situation, but this time we're going to think about how our op-ed fits into that. So here I want you to type in who your audience is going to be for your op-ed in this little box, and be as descriptive as possible. We're thinking about age, location, education, things like that. As specific as you can be will help you be more strategic when you create your argument. So who's your audience? Tell a little bit about yourself in this author box. So not just your name, but what are your credentials? Why should you be listened to about this topic? What are some of your experiences that create your credibility, that make you the best person to discuss this topic? So you also want to think about, and this week's discussion board has you do this as well, but you want to think about who you are as a person and how that affects your connection to your topic. These responses can be in short bullet points, a paragraph, sentences, however you best express yourself in this box. You're going to want to think about the context here. So what's going on in our world, country, state, city, classroom, whatever the context is that's influencing and shaping your argument, you're going to want to note some of those ideas right here in the context box. And then finally, what's your purpose? What do you want your audience to get out of reading your op-ed? So you're going to think about things like, what do you want them to think? What do you want them to change? What do you want them to do? Those are often goals for an author in their op-ed. And you'll want to revisit some of the work that we've done so far. The Jamboard that we've been working on can give you some ideas about what different purposes are. You can think back on some of the op-eds that we read. So your Jamboards from last week can give you some insights. But why do people write op-eds, and what's their overarching purpose? You're going to want to think about your own op-ed and write down a couple ideas about what your purpose might be. Then finally, to prepare yourself for next week, you're going to think about how your op-ed is going to be organized. So for the purpose of this video, I've got 7 boxes, which implies there's 7 paragraphs. That is not to say your op-ed needs to be 7 paragraphs. This is just, you can add or delete columns as you need to. But really what I want you to think about is remember the charting the text activities we did a couple weeks ago where we talked about what the author said versus what they did? This is pretty much what you're going to do for your own op-ed. So in your paragraph 1, for example, are you going to introduce your ideas? Are you going to state your thesis? Are you going to open up with a hook of some kind? So you might write intro, hook, thesis. Those are some of the things you're going to want to think about, but then I want you to be a little more specific. You might want to go back up to your annotated bibliography from Tuesday and Wednesday and think about what types of evidence are you going to use to complete this purpose of each paragraph. So I might say, I'll start with an interesting anecdote to connect myself to the audience. Pique their interest. Again, this doesn't have to be extremely detailed, but the more information you can put here, the better off you'll be next week. So for example, let's say instead of using an anecdote, I'm going to begin with an interesting statistic, okay? what I'd want to do is then document whatever source I'm going to use there. That way, when I'm drafting next week, I don't have to dig through all my sources again. I can actually say, oh yeah, that's right. I was going to use the study on XYZ to come and type, or to, I'm sorry, to introduce my topic. So section 2 might be get some background. Okay, so you get the idea. Everybody's is going to look different because everybody is writing for different audiences and different purposes. So there's no cookie cutter approach to this. And I want to just remind you, we've read at this point 7 or 8 op-eds. We watched a visual op-ed. There is no right way to approach this assignment other than to think about who you're writing to, what you want to get, what point you're trying to make with them, and then finding out the best way to achieve your purpose. So those are really the big guidelines for what you need to be thinking about. So folks, this section right here, it's part 3, making a plan. This section and this section are going to be due by Sunday. So the assumption is that you're doing this work on your work from home day on Friday. So make sure these are completed by Sunday, because on Tuesday and Wednesday of next week, we're going to be drafting. So as always, if you have questions, please let me know. You can send me an email or check in with me during the week. And I hope that you have a great work from home Friday.